That's interesting how you had a call center and then now don't have a call center. So I suppose the what's the word? The need to get it right is even more important for you because you don't have anything to fall back on then.
So I think it depends on like type of query. It can be both. Like sometimes the customer will have a good prompt enough to pick up like what vertical they are contacting us about. Obviously, like the latest update is that we use Claude as well to help us with this.
For me, it's obvious that the person that invests in AI is the one that the business are going to appreciate more and investing more in because they're getting far more value for the business out of it.
Yeah, you can also like remind your team not to take it personally. Like with AI, like whenever like you have a copilot, it's so easy to add that reminder. Like this has nothing to do with you. Yeah. It's just a happy customer.
This conversation is with Anna Fedorchuk, who is the Customer Operations Manager at RVU. Now, you might not know RVU, the brand name, but underneath RVU, you'll definitely know some of the brands underneath there. Uswitch, Confused.com, companies like that. So if you've ever in the UK, certainly people in the UK will know this, whenever your annual utility switch comes, chances are you're probably using one of these services. And so Anna leads the customer operations there and is responsible for implementing artificial intelligence across the board. And so this conversation is a very interesting conversation about that journey, where it started from and how it's progressed over time. We talk about technology, we talk about approach, we talk about challenges, we talk about results, value, resolution rate, and we talk about the future of AI in customer experience at RVU. Very interesting conversation. You'll learn a lot from this one with Anna Fedorchuk from RVU on VUX World. Anna, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, all great. Thank you. Yourself?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, feeling pretty good. Although I do have a little bit of a knee ailment that seems to be preventing my running at the moment. But apart from that, no complaints.
So no marathons this year?
Well, my wife has just signed up for a marathon in November, and I am very closely behind her in terms of signing up. However, this knee situation needs to be resolved. So I have a 10K coming up in 4 weeks. If I can get through that without my knee having any issue, then yes, the marathon is on, Anna.
Well, good luck.
That's what's going down. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, enough about my ailments. I think I'm just dropping a bit. Anyway, so tell us a bit about yourself, Anna, and what you do at RVU.
Yeah, so thanks so much for inviting me as well. So I work as a customer operations manager at RVU. So probably like the name RVU doesn't bring you much information, but that's UK's leading home management and switching specialist. So we group behind consumer platforms like Uswitch, Confused.com, Money.co.uk, TempCover, and Module Mortgages, which means that around half of UK households use our services every year, which is quite impressive. I specifically work across Uswitch and Money.co.uk, where I've been leading customer operations for the past 3.5 years. And to give you a bit of background of what Uswitch does, is a UK-based comparison service that helps people compare and switch products like energy, broadband, mobiles, and also financial services. As well as we have an app which is called UTrack app to help households better understand and manage their energy usage. Our goal is to empower consumers to make confident decisions and help transform industries. So we work closely with providers and policymakers to make markets more competitive and innovative. That's what I do at RVU.
Brilliant, thank you. That's good context, that, especially for the American audience that I'm sure has probably some similar type of services available over there. I think probably people in the UK, I imagine, have probably used, if they're anything like me, use Uswitch quite a lot in terms of every year you're looking for a slightly better kind of utility rate and all this kind of stuff. But I suppose, does that create a... I suppose maybe that's the wrong question to ask. Maybe you could share a little bit about the nature of your customers, given the situation that the services that you provide in terms of them switching and comparison. It feels to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that could be kind of like an annual occurrence. So is it that you have, in terms of your remit and the problems you're trying to solve for customers, is it like repeat contacts? Do you have that type of like repeat usage type of thing, or are you predominantly trying to solve for new customers in the conversion sort of journey? Like where do you sit in terms of the customer experience that you're trying to deliver on?
Yeah, so most of the customers will obviously come back to us a year later after they switch. But because we have quite a lot of products within like utilities and home management, so there's energy, broadband, mobiles, and financial services. So you basically can switch different services every year, which means that like most of our customers switch multiple services with us.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense?
Yeah, interesting. So in terms of your foray into AI then, where did that begin?
Yeah, so probably to give you a bit of the context, that before I joined the company, they had quite a big customer support team and basically a call center with the outsourced agency as well. So that was like, I joined the company around 3.5 years ago, and that's like where we started to look into other solutions, because there was energy crisis at that time. So we naturally just had to switch to online channels. So we no longer offer a call center, and we mainly work across emails and chats. And obviously at that time, with the energy returning back to market, and we started to introduce more and more products that customers can switch. So there was a need for us to look for a solution that will help us to sustain a great customer service. And that's where we started to look into AI. And obviously did some research on how things evolved. I think that time is not as developed as at the moment. So we looked into different vendors as well, and we chose to work with Intercom at that time. So we moved to Intercom around 2 years ago, and started to implement AI across like customer-facing tasks, but also like for team efficiency. That's basically when we started to look into AI. But things evolved really quickly, as you know already. So hence now we use AI across most of our customer journeys, across different channels as well. So that will be like emails, chats, social media as well. No voice yet. But it does, like we work across regulated industries, including FCA. So obviously there was a big of a challenge for us to make sure AI can handle all of this, like really similar journeys in terms of how LLMs perceive them, because it's very similar keywords. So that was probably the biggest challenge for us at that time. But still, yeah, it's able to respond to almost everything and different type of queries that we come across.
Nice. That's interesting how you had a call center and then now don't have a call center. So I suppose the what's the word? The need to get it right is even more important for you because you don't have anything to fall back on then.
Yeah, definitely. But also I think that time they offered switching over the phone, which we no longer offer. So basically like it's a digital business. So if you want to switch, like I wouldn't be able to help you over the phone to do that. So you do everything online. So hence probably like the nature of this queries changed as well. So to some extent, I think for some customers it's more beneficial to get some support online very instantly rather than like to give us a call. Like the time for them, that it will be a much faster outcome for them in any case.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, interesting. So where did that begin then? So the use cases you were looking at, you selected Intercom. What were the first type of use cases you were looking at initially?
Yeah, so obviously for us to get to Intercom, like it took a while to get a sign off from key stakeholders. We were one of the first teams within RVU that implemented AI within like non-technical environment. So we had to go through all the like process that took us quite a while. And then we started with a very small test. So it was I think across the energy type of queries. And we had this for like maybe 2 weeks or something like this at the time. So we gathered all the data, how customers perceived chatbot as well. We reviewed like almost every conversation. And once we were happy with the results, and the results were quite good, it was around 60% resolution rate. So that was quite good for us. We were quite happy with the responses. So which actually like helped us to make a good decision about whether we want to move with Intercom or not. And then we started to roll this out across other verticals as well, which again was a challenge. So then the resolution rate fluctuated because then you add more verticals, they all share very similar keywords. So took a while to actually make it work across different verticals. It does include like AI categorization, so every conversation is categorized correctly. So things like this, building quite complex workflows for AI to pick this up correctly. And then we got back to the similar resolution rates, which are around like 65-70%, which I think is considered quite well in the industry.
That's pretty good, yeah. So the initial use case, was that a kind of more, was that an information-based use case, like retrieval augmented generation? Was it transactional, like it was doing things? Like what were those early use cases looking like?
Yeah, so mostly informational. It was also like a while ago, and I think the capabilities weren't there yet, and Intercom didn't have these options as like data connectors. So hence it was more informational, but also the nature of our business is like comparison service. We don't actually everything that's done post a switching service, like it has to do with the suppliers. So we don't own that journey. So for us as customer service, it's much easier to handle those type of queries. But we don't have the data to connect to, so then like it will impact resolution rates, if that makes sense. So at that time, like it was more than enough to handle those type of queries.
Interesting. So when you said that you did a 2-week kind of proof of concept almost, and that was enough to choose Intercom, was it that you did this as part of your selection process?
I think we moved to Intercom like a year before we actually implemented chatbot.
Okay.
But obviously like there were other options, so we could go either with Intercom or we could build our own native chatbot. But it probably was a lot more longer than 2 weeks, to be honest. It's just, it's been a while since then. But it was easy for us because we did not require any engineering support at that time. So we own this within customer service team that made our life much easier. And then we could also develop the product further. So I think that was the biggest impact that we had. And then obviously the ROI and everything was quite clear for us to justify the business case. And then we went live with other verticals as well.
Interesting. So you mentioned that was kind of a bit of a while ago before you had data connectors and stuff like that. So what's the current state of play now then? You mentioned earlier email, chat. Could you give us a kind of whistle-stop tour in terms of what use cases you support, what channels, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and I think for us at RVU, one of the reasons AI became a good opportunity was also like this culture of rigor and urgency. So at that time we wanted to find this spot between moving early and quickly with AI. So hence we started with the test, and later that was within the year where we implemented AI on other channels like email, social media. So if you message us on Facebook, on Instagram, you would also receive a response from AI. So that was part of the integration as well. And then we worked on the resolution rates as well, because as I mentioned, like once we started to add more verticals, like broadband, energy, mobiles, with very similar keywords, that was the challenge. So I invested quite a lot of time in making it work, basically. And then we still like in this process of mature deployment. I believe that we have a really good resolution rates. and we're working towards like these data connectors and making more agentic experience overall. But we did focus on like quality and making sure that it is able to pick up the conversation correctly and guide customers to the right solution and the right response. But I think just due to the nature of the business, we didn't have much of a need to connect this to all the databases that we have. So the key challenge for us is to make sure that the database we connect to provides accurate data, because again, it's multiple journeys, multiple products and verticals that all have quite different systems. So we're still on that journey to actually make it happen.
Interesting. So you mentioned there you had some challenges when you started going from one vertical into other verticals, and you mentioned the keyword confusion. Was that essentially queries coming from users? It was a challenge to retrieve the right content because the queries were similar. Is that what it was?
Yeah, because we had quite a lot of content that it was built on. We have our own a set of articles basically, which is around like 5,000 articles or something. So obviously there wasn't a right choice for us to build a chatbot based on that those articles. So it took a while to actually like build their own customer service knowledge base that it would be built on. And I think the challenge would be more than like the context that we needed from customers. So if you start a chatbot and ask like, I want to switch today, what's the best deal? Like, we need to have context about what exactly they want to switch to. And with the AI guidance within Intercom, it was quite easy to achieve that at some point, because you could add lots of guidance for specific verticals and questions that we need to ask before we provide a response, basically.
Oh, interesting. So you configure that in the system then, essentially, is you can say that if somebody asks a question about X, then you need to have this bit of information first before you go and do the retrieval. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. But also, like, this AI categorization within Intercom was quite impactful for us, because then I added quite a lot of context for AI to pick up like what type of vertical this conversation relates to, and then like I could build a complex workflow. If it's about energy, then use these type of articles. So I think it's a combination of like a lot of settings that then they come to one place and actually produces a good response. So all of them will be taken into account. And I think Intercom setup is quite complex. So it's a lot of things that you need to set up like for this to make it work. But again, I assume that if you would have a much simpler setup within business, if it's like online shop or things like this, it's much easier to achieve. We'll just have a very complex journey on our website, so lots of verticals, lots of journeys, so hence the challenge.
Yeah. So am I understanding it correctly then, which is that in order to essentially arrive at a correct answer for a user, you are taking the initial utterance, categorizing it and classifying it essentially based on which vertical you believe it's supposed to go to, and then you send it through to that vertical. Do you do a retrieval at that point, or do you have like some dialogue management there where there's a back and forth with the user to clarify anything, reduce ambiguity before you do the retrieval? Like, am I right so far, or?
So I think it depends on like type of query. It can be both. Like sometimes the customer will have a good prompt enough to pick up like what vertical they are contacting us about, especially like if they mention a supplier, like if it's British Gas or E.ON, like there's a low chance that AI would think it's broadband basically. So then the retrieval will be in the initial stage. If it needs more context, then they will ask for more context before producing any information.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So you mentioned there that the resolution rate began at 60%, and you said now it's somewhere between, was it 65 and 70, did you say?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's cool. How do you define that resolution rate then? Like, what is it that a conversation needs to achieve in order for it to be considered resolved? So
that's what Intercom defines. Basically, we use the data reports to get the data. But from what I understand, it's basically if a customer either confirmed that they're happy with the resolution they were provided, or they haven't contacted us in the next 24 hours.
That makes sense.
I think it's more complex than this. So like there are a lot of articles on this, how they define what a resolution is.
Yeah.
So it's worth having a look.
Yeah, that's yeah. Maybe we can dig that out and put it in the show notes. It's an interesting model they have in Intercom, because I had Fergal Reid, who's the chief AI officer at Intercom, on the podcast in I think probably January or something like that, and we had a discussion about the kind of way that they price things and the outcome-based pricing and the Intercom kind of approach to sort of. I think Fergal explains it as kind of like separating the mechanism from the policy, which is that the system should work how it works, and you shouldn't really be able to impact how it works, but you should be able to affect the kind of like the specifics of what it does based on your business rules, your data, your policies, and things like that. Have you any use cases that are not information based? Have you got any use cases that require any system integrations, any kind of pushing and pulling of data back and forth and stuff like that, or not?
Not at the moment. This is something that we're working on, which again shows that like even with the informational type of queries that is able to handle, again for like our specific type of business, the resolution rate is quite good. And like customer experience, we have quite good customer experience rankings as well. So I think overall, like even without having this like the most agentic experience that you might have, it still gives us a really good result as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And in terms of, you mentioned the customer experience there, is there a particular thing or group of things you care about when you're measuring experience? Do you use the kind of traditional CSAT? Is there something Intercom does that makes a measure of experience? Like how do you grade experience?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and it's really important for us. So I think in the beginning, I will go through each conversation and would like change something to make sure it's within the standards that we have for our team and agents that work for us. So, but overall, like, yeah, this is both like customer satisfaction score, and also they have a customer experience ratings. So which go through each conversation and assign like from 1 to 5. The challenge there is again the nature of our business. We are a comparison website, so some of the dissatisfaction within their customer interaction will go to suppliers rather than ourselves. So like we do need to differentiate this because otherwise like the score will be too low or like too high. So that's the biggest challenge. But now with Claude, I think that's something that we were able to resolve as well. So they have a native integration with Claude, and you can run like different type of questions. You can build like any dashboards that you want at this point, as well as like go through all conversations and give me like a good customer experience rating with anything that you want them to rate, basically. That's really great feature there, and we've managed to basically to get externally.
Wicked. So what? So that's Claude. The applications are either Claude Code or Claude Cowork or Claude Chat is essentially using an Intercom connector, so that you can then via Claude interrogate your Intercom data. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
That's brilliant. That's a great use case.
Yeah, so like if you run any campaigns, you can ask like, what was the main question about this campaign yesterday? And it'll kind of give you the data. Or like if you want to build dashboards for QAing for your team or AI. So again, you can build your own one, and then with the AI skills or like a set of instructions for Claude to follow, then you can like build this specifically for your business, whatever's important, the language also that you use. So then whenever we have any meetings with the senior leadership team, like it can actually be adjusted to the language you use internally and not towards like the language Intercom does. So that's actually really, really helpful for us.
That's really good. Funnily enough, I was talking to Henry Iverson from Boost AI recently. That podcast will be probably actually the one before this. And we discussed this. We discussed like there's no reason why a platform like Boost couldn't expose its APIs via an MCP into Claude and have people building agents, reporting on agents, running experiments and doing stuff all from within Claude, leveraging, in that case, the Boost backend. But it sounds like Intercom already have that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's super easy to connect. It's just like one click, and then you obviously have to run through previously, like whatever type of queries you can run through, because so it doesn't impact any customer private data.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's interesting. Good, brilliant. So, what other sort of challenges have you faced then? You mentioned email. Emails can be quite challenging sometimes. Are there anything in particular you had to do differently on the email channel?
Yeah. So I think like Intercom again is quite well into like building this workflows channel specifically based. You can build a workflow, and then will be different flow for emails or chat. So that wasn't really a challenge, but it was more like going through conversations with customers and seeing like where it didn't pick up correctly. But I think the model they're using for emails is slightly different for the chat. And in most cases, it will pick up correctly. I think in general, customers are quite happy to see the first response very quickly. We did exclude like complaints or things like this where we need to have a bit more human oversight. But overall, I wouldn't say it's a challenge. I don't think we like the biggest challenge is that AI evolving so quickly that you have to adapt as much as possible. So it's more like about this upskilling for myself, for my team. That's the biggest challenge, and making sure like no one is too stressed about this, but also like we stay on top of the game. So yeah, I wouldn't say we faced big challenges.
That's good. That's interesting.
I think we probably implemented this at the right time with kind of the right technology. So that was super helpful. And then the biggest impact, like I can do all of this without engineering support. Like it does obviously require me to be quite tech savvy and do like different tests and learn and read, but overall like such a great impact, because otherwise I would wait for a month to get this implemented.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the benefits of tools like that. I suppose one of the common challenges we see across the board really is when it comes down to sort of like testing and quality assurance. I don't know if there's anything specific you can share there in terms of your approach to testing and validating that what you put live is what you expect type of thing.
Yeah, so and obviously we're FCA regulated as well, so we have to make sure that we're compliant there as well. I think in the past we used like external agency that would do that for us, but it was maybe like 3 years ago. And since then, obviously like the latest update is that we use Claude as well to help us with this, and then Intercom's dashboard as well are quite helpful because it can flag basically anything that you should have a look. But then like just manual queuing as well from time to time. So we'll do this regularly on a monthly basis, and then but it's also that we change the approach. So every team member has some time assigned for them where they go through conversations, and each of them has like a specific vertical assigned to them. So they would own their vertical and kind of how AI performs within that vertical, which is super helpful. They go through conversations, they add more templates if they need to, or like change some of the guidance. So that was probably the game changer, and we see it quite holistically. So everyone is involved, and I think that probably helps everyone feel that the AI won't replace their job because they are developing with AI being developed in real time. It's lots of things that we're doing to make sure AI responds correctly. We also have like our compliance reviews. They look into this as well. So yeah, we put quite a lot of time into this. But again, like then you have Claude that helps us to make sure we go through like all conversations. So that was quite a game changer for us.
That's interesting. So am I understanding this correctly then? Via Claude, you can you can simulate conversations to test it, or you can access transcripts to analyze them, or both?
Both.
Really?
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah, definitely. Like, but it's such a big thing, like a lot of things that you can do with this, and also operationally wise, like even for managers or team leads, like you can make great schedules and things like this. So we're testing quite a lot of things with Claude at the moment. But obviously, like you never know how this will change in 6 months, and whether we need to move to ChatGPT again.
If anything, I think it'll be the opposite. I think the way that Claude's developing at the moment is, they are developing at a frightening pace. The features that are now in Claude Cowork and all that kind of stuff, that considering it's only 4 months old, it's unbelievable what it can do. Already Intercom has a connector, and already you can open up far more capabilities just through having a conversation with Claude. That if anything, I see that continuing rather than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also I'm quite lucky to work for the company. There's actually quite involved into this innovation. They give me a lot of space, trust. Obviously, I have to follow all the regulations and check in with the privacy compliance teams. But they do give me lots of space to experiment. So I think that's actually really great, because I know people in the industry that didn't even start using Claude or even ChatGPT. So yeah, I think that's a biggest advantage that I have. They allowed me to do all of the AI implementation for the last 2 years.
Brilliant. And what advice would you have then in for people in similar situations? Whatever tools they're using, whatever industry they're in. What are some of the sort of learnings you could share from your experience over the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's hard to say as well. It's everyone, I would think that people would already have AI working in their teams, and people using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. But I know that it's not the case here for a lot of people as well, especially with the customer service. I feel like a lot of people are not as fast to develop basically and learn with how AI develops. And if you are out of the game for 2 weeks and then you come back from holidays and you feel like you're behind, then you already came back, and then there's Claude and this and that. I would say the main advice is just to keep learning and keep developing. AI is developing so quickly, but I also think living in London is such a big advantage, because then I can speak to companies to yourself as well. Learning within communities has actually been super helpful for myself. So then you don't repeat mistakes from other people. But obviously you have to experiment and learn, and it will include making mistakes. And probably including the team quite early, because the more you develop AI, the more they would feel excluded from this, and probably quite scary that it will replace them. But as long as you give this opportunity and encourage people to upskill, because I see this as such a big thing that you can impact your career. It can change your career. It will probably make clear that you can earn so much more because of how much you can develop. Definitely a positive thing, but it does require all this learning and development.
Yeah. 100%. I'll give some training to a company a few weeks back, and one of the conversations there was around, can't this thing take our jobs in future and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, think about it this way. You have access to AI, and if you get really good at leveraging AI in your job, what's the impact of that? And one impact of that is that all the rubbish that you spend all of your time doing, part of that disappears because this thing can do it instead. So now if you can offload all of that grunt work and all that rubbish that doesn't really add value, you don't even like doing it anyway, but now something else is doing it for you, what can you do with that time that you now have available? And maybe if you spend that time trying to figure out how you can automate some of the bigger stuff, some of the important stuff that's, more impactful, then that creates even more time. And then what do you do with that time? Well, imagine if you invested that time in building more stuff, right? And so all of a sudden, you have this tool that in the short term might be doing the job of, 1 hour a day for you. But then after 6 weeks of investment, it might be doing 4 hours a day for you. That means it's doing half of your job. That means that you now have half a person extra capacity. And if you reinvest that capacity into building more automation, who does the business value more? Ultimately, the person who knows their way around these AI systems that has essentially just created themselves more capacity and in time might have this thing doing the job of 3 people, or the person who stays to what they know and sticks to what they know. It's for me, it's obvious that the person that invests in AI is the one that the business are going to appreciate more and invest in more in, because they're getting far more value for the business out of it.
Yeah, definitely. And also, there's so many other things that you can do, all these revenue driving tests and things like this. So how you can build this journey, so at the right time where you can promote other things that will help business actually grow. So lots of things that actually I'm working now at the moment. They are super exciting. You get a chance to work with the product team engineers. So something that I think customer service people never had access to. Which is great, and you basically a product manager now of your AI agent, rather than you manage a whole call center, and you have to deal with every unhappy customer. But also, I've also seen how AI is in fact impactful towards stress management within customer service. I would get people become really stressed because of a few really negative complaints. There are it's sometimes hard to not take it too personally, which I think is a good skill not to. But you can use AI to help you draft those responses, which in that situation will probably be more empathetic, will be less personal. I've seen less complaints about this, complaints causing stress. So definitely something good for work-life balance within customer service.
Absolutely. That's a good point. I never thought about that, to be honest. I think a lot of people say that in those situations, what you need is for people to have a bit of a longer break. But that's not necessarily solving the problem, is it? You might have a break but still be fairly traumatized or fairly impacted. Whereas I suppose having AI to play that sort of letting off steam, counselling type of role is quite interesting. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, you can also remind your team not to take it personally. With AI, whenever you have a copilot, it's so easy to add that reminder. This has nothing to do with you. Yeah. It's just a happy customer.
Yeah, very true. Very true. That's really good. So what does the future hold then? What is either at RVU? What is the future looking like, and what you're excited about? Or if you can't share that kind of stuff outside of that in AI in general, what does the future hold? What are you excited to see?
Yeah, I think it's, again, hard to say because you never know how things evolve within the next few months. I think future plans and the strategy that we are quite focused on making sure that we are on this path to mature deployment, more and more involving data connectors and things like this. So building more agentic experience, but also working with other team to test AI in additional customer journeys, where we have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views every day and every week. So see if it can drive revenue as well. But we're also quite focused on improving quality, because I think with the AI being developed, customer expectations are also getting higher and higher every day. So making sure we provide the best customer experience that we can. And we have our mobile app as well. It's called Uswitch, so it helps you manage your energy usage. So there's a really nice use case for our customer service experience as well, where we can build a chatbot within the different journeys, and have kind of a full control over where and when it appears, but also promote we have different promotions within this app where we offer free money for if you save some electricity or things like this. So how we can leverage what we have now in those journeys. I think our team is quite excited as well, because they have a chance not only to reply to complaints but work with other teams. So there's a lot of really interesting things, but also I'm quite open to what industry brings, and just making sure we are trying to keep up with everything.
Brilliant. Well, I think you're definitely in the right place at the right time, and although it feels sometimes we've been bagging the drum trying to get AI to take off for quite some time, it's still it's still very early in terms of business adoption. So I think you're definitely in the right place at the right time, and hopefully, long may that success continue, and maybe we can chat again in maybe 12 months' time or so, and see where we are then.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks so much again.
Brilliant, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you again on the next one. Cheers now. Bye.